The story begins back in 1996. A man is out jogging near the beach when he suddenly notices something buried in the sand. Curious, he digs it out and discovers an old board game called Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. He takes it home and gives it to his son Alex, because Alex absolutely loves video games. But when Alex opens the box, he sees that it's just some weird board game that looks like Ludo, so he loses interest immediately and puts it aside before going back to his video games. Later that night, something strange happens. A glowing green light starts coming out of the game, and along with it, Alex hears jungle drums beating. The noise wakes him up. When he opens the game again, the board game is gone, and now there's a video game cartridge inside, labeled Jumanji. Alex gets excited and inserts the cartridge into his gaming console. The moment the game starts, a bright green light bursts out of the screen, and Alex gets sucked straight into the game. After that, the story shifts to the present day, where we meet a teenager named Spencer. He's sitting at home playing video games, because gaming is basically his favorite thing in the world. Suddenly, he gets a message from his friend Fridge, who reminds him about the homework Spencer was supposed to finish for him. Spencer quickly completes it and heads over to Fridge's house. At the same time, we learn that Fridge is a football player who loves sports, but he's terrible at studying. That's why he always depends on Spencer to do his homework for him. Soon, both of them arrive at a place called the Freak House. And here's the interesting part. This is actually Alex's old house, the same boy who disappeared inside Jumanji years ago. Spencer hands Fridge the homework notes and jokingly says, "You know, I really enjoy doing your homework for you, but maybe this Sunday you could at least play video games with me." But Fridge completely ignores him and walks away. Just then, Alex's father suddenly appears and asks Spencer why he came there. He warns him never to come back again, otherwise he might disappear too. Hearing this creepy warning, Spencer quickly leaves. Next, we meet Bethany, a girl at school who's completely obsessed with social media and video chatting. During a test, she's casually talking on video call when her teacher catches her and tells her to put the phone away, but Bethany refuses to listen, so the teacher threatens to report her to the principal. Then we're introduced to Martha, a smart and quiet girl who prefers staying alone. During gym class, her teacher tells her to find a football partner, but Martha says she came to school to study, not play games. The teacher doesn't like her attitude and warns her that refusing physical activity will get her punished. Soon after, Spencer also gets called to the principal's office because the school has discovered that he was secretly doing Fridge's homework. As punishment, Spencer, Fridge, Bethany, and Martha are all sent together to detention. The principal takes them into an old storage room and tells them that the school plans to turn it into a brand new computer lab. But before that can happen, the entire room needs to be cleaned, so their punishment is simple. They have to clean the place themselves. While cleaning, Fridge suddenly discovers an old video game console hidden among the junk. It actually belongs to Alex, because after he disappeared, his father donated all his old stuff away. Fridge plugs the console into an old TV, and when the game boots up, the screen says, "Welcome to Jumanji." Spencer says he's never even heard of this game before. Then the character selection screen appears. Fridge first tries selecting a character who pilots a seaplane, but the game doesn't allow it, so instead, he chooses a short zoologist character named Finbar. Spencer selects Dr. Bravstone. Bethany chooses Professor Shelley Oberon. Fridge then asks Martha to join them too, but she refuses at first. However, after Spencer convinces her, she finally agrees and selects Ruby Roundhouse. The moment the game starts, they suddenly hear those same mysterious jungle drums. Then a bright green light bursts out of the console, and one by one, all four of them get sucked into the game. Spencer is the first to arrive inside Jumanji. He suddenly finds himself standing in the middle of a massive jungle with no idea what just happened. Everything around him is covered in thick trees and wild nature. Confused, he looks down at himself and realizes something shocking. His skinny body is gone. Now he's tall, muscular, and incredibly strong. Even his hair has disappeared. Spencer is completely shocked as he realizes he has transformed into the avatar he selected, Dr. Bravestone. A few moments later, Fridge, Martha, and Bethany also arrive inside the game, each one transformed into the avatar they selected. At first, nobody recognizes each other. They're all confused and freaking out, but Spencer quickly realizes what's happening and tells everyone, "Guys, it's me. I'm Spencer." Nobody believes him at first, so he explains that somehow they've all been sucked inside the video game and turned into their chosen characters. To test it out, Bethany looks at her reflection in the water nearby and instantly screams in horror. Instead of herself, she sees a short, overweight, middle-aged man staring back at her. Before anyone can even react properly, a giant hippo suddenly jumps out of the water and swallows Bethany whole. Everyone panics. Fridge immediately tells Spencer to go save her, but then, out of nowhere, Bethany suddenly falls from the sky and crashes back onto the ground alive. Confused, Fridge asks what happened to her. Bethany says, "First I got eaten by a rhino, and then I fell from the sky." Fridge corrects her and says it was actually a hippo, explaining random facts about how fast hippos can run in water and how powerful their jaws are. Then he suddenly stops and realizes something weird. He has no idea how he even knows all that information. That's when they all understand something important. They now have the abilities and knowledge of the avatars they selected in the game. But before they can process it any further, more hippos begin attacking them. Terrified, they all start running through the jungle. Just in time, a man arrives in a jeep and rescues them. His name is Nigel. Nigel starts talking directly to Spencer's avatar, Dr. Bravestone, calling him a famous archaeologist and legendary explorer whose bravery is known around the world. He even compliments him by saying there's no doubt that he's incredibly handsome. Then Nigel tells them that they are the only ones who can save Jumanji from a terrible curse. But whenever they ask him any other questions, he keeps repeating the same type of answers. That's when Spencer realizes something. Nigel isn't a real person. He's an NPC, a non-playable character. Spencer explains to everyone that Nigel can only say whatever the game programmed him to say. Then Nigel turns toward Fridge's avatar, Mouse Finbar, and says that ever since Dr. Bravestone saved him from dangerous outlaws years ago, Finbar has remained loyal to him. After that, Nigel finally explains the game's backstory. He says he used to work as a field guide in Jumanji and was hired by their enemy, Professor Russell Van Pelt, to lead an expedition. Van Pelt was searching for an ancient jaguar statue that held a sacred jewel, a magical gem that protected all of Jumanji. After years of searching, Van Pelt finally found the statue. At first, he claimed he only wanted to look at the jewel, but secretly, he wanted to keep it for himself. The moment he removed the jewel from the statue, a curse spread across the entire jungle. Van Pelt gained the power to control every animal in Jumanji, because legend said that whoever first claimed the jewel would gain control over the beasts of the jungle. Nigel says he begged Van Pelt to put the jewel back where it belonged, but he refused. So one night, Nigel stole the jewel from him and ran away, but Van Pelt caught him in the act and has been hunting him ever since. Then Nigel hands the jewel to Dr. Bravestone and tells the group that only they can return it to the jaguar's eye and break the curse. After dropping them off, Nigel gives them a map and tells them they must travel to the market and find the missing piece. Before leaving, he dramatically says, "Return the jewel and save Jumanji." The group now realizes this is their mission if they ever want to return home. Fridge puts the jewel safely into his bag. Martha points out that if they return the jewel to the jaguar statue, they might finally escape the game and go back home. Spencer agrees and says that no matter what, they have to save Jumanji. But when Spencer opens the map, it looks completely blank, except for one torn corner. They assume they need to find the missing piece of the map somewhere in the game. Then Bethany looks at it, and suddenly, she can see everything written clearly on the map. That's when they realize her avatar, Professor Shelley Oberon, has map reading skills. Wanting to test his own abilities, Spencer touches his chest, and suddenly a game stats screen appears in front of him. It lists Dr. Bravestone's strengths. Strength, smoldering intensity, climbing speed, boomerang skills, fearlessness, and under weaknesses, nothing. After that, Martha checks her own abilities. Her strengths turn out to be karate, taekwondo, aikido, and dance fighting skills, but her weakness is venom. Then Bethany checks hers and discovers that her main skill is cartography. Basically, she can read maps perfectly. Seeing this, Fridge checks his own stats too, but instantly gets disappointed. His strengths are zoology and carrying Dr. Bravestone's backpack. Meanwhile, his weaknesses are strength, speed, and cake. Fridge gets seeing how useless his character feels compared to the others. Just then, Bethany notices something strange. The map is changing. A new area appears on it called the Mighty Roar, which wasn't there before. They realize this means they've entered the second level of the game. The hippo area was the first level, and now they're progressing forward. But before they can celebrate, a group of bikers suddenly attacks them. These are Van Pelt's men. Spencer and the others immediately run into the the jungle to escape. While hiding, Spencer tells Fridge to pull out the weapons from the backpack because all of Dr. Bravestone's gear is stored inside it. Fridge reaches into the bag and pulls out a boomerang. The moment Spencer sees it, he gets, because boomerangs are one of Dr. Bravestone's special abilities. But Fridge doesn't believe that thing can actually help them against enemies carrying guns. Still, Spencer throws it at the bikers. At first, the boomerang flies off randomly into the sky, making everyone think it failed, so they panic and start running again. But suddenly, the boomerang comes flying back and takes out all the bikers one by one before returning to Spencer's hand. Unfortunately, more bikers show up right after that. Spencer tells everyone to run, but Fridge starts struggling and says his legs feel heavy. Running is one of his weaknesses, so he can barely move. Spencer quickly throws him onto his back and carries him while escaping. Meanwhile, Martha and Bethany are also running from the bikers, but suddenly they reach the edge of a massive waterfall. There's nowhere left to go, and the bikers are getting closer every second. With no other option, all of them jump off the cliff. Luckily, they survive the fall and make it out safely, but then Martha suddenly says she got shot during the chase. A second later, her body explodes into game particles, and then she respawns by falling from the sky again. When Spencer checks her wrist tattoo, he notices one of the life bars is gone. That's when he finally understands. Each of them has 3 lives. He explains that Bethany already lost 1 life when the hippo ate her, and now Martha has also lost 1. Hearing this, Martha nervously asks what happens if all their lives run out. Spencer quietly says there's only one possibility. They die for real. That realization terrifies everyone. Martha says that means they absolutely have to finish the mission and find the missing map piece if they ever want to survive and return home. Bethany checks the map again and notices a village on the other side of the mountain. She believes that must be the market Nigel mentioned, so the group heads toward it. At the same time, we see Van Pelt receiving news from his men that Dr. Bravestone and his team escaped. Furious, he orders all his soldiers, along with the jungle animals under his control, to hunt them down immediately. Meanwhile, Spencer and the others continue traveling toward the village. During the journey, Fridge starts blaming Spencer for everything, saying that it's all his fault they got trapped inside the game. He even says their friendship is over. Spencer finally snaps back and tells Fridge that he never treated him like a real friend anyway. He only used him whenever he needed homework done. The argument quickly turns serious, and Fridge shoves Spencer. Spencer falls straight off the cliff. Bethany and Martha scream in fear, but Fridge tries convincing them Spencer will respawn. A few moments later, Spencer really does fall back from the sky alive, but now he's lost one of his lives too. Spencer gets at Fridge, but instead of calming down, Fridge tries attacking him again. Spencer dodges, and this time Fridge almost falls off the cliff himself. Luckily, Spencer grabs his hand and pulls him back up. Then Spencer tells him that they can't keep wasting lives fighting each other. Whether they like it or not, they need to work together if they want to survive this game. Eventually, they finally arrive at the village and begin searching for the missing piece of the map. Spencer tells everyone they need to stay quiet and search carefully. While walking through the market, they notice a man selling bread, and since they're starving, they all start eating it. But suddenly, Fridge begins panicking after taking a bite. He asks the shopkeeper what kind of bread it is. The man proudly replies, "My famous butter cake." The moment Fridge hears the word cake, he freaks out because cake is literally listed as one of his weaknesses. And just seconds later, he explodes and respawns from the sky again. Now even Fridge is down to only 2 lives. Just then, a young boy suddenly appears in the village. He's clearly another NPC, and he walks straight up to Dr. Bravestone, saying, "Thank goodness you're here." Spencer quickly asks him about the missing piece of the map. The boy tells them to follow him and leads them to a strange basket sitting in the middle of a small hut. Then he gives them a riddle. What you seek is inside this basket, but make one mistake and you lose your life. Trust is the answer. Do not blink. The missing piece is not what you think. After saying that, the boy leaves. Carefully, Spencer opens the basket, and inside is a deadly black mamba snake. The second he sees it, he slams the basket shut in panic. Then he remembers the clue. Trust is the answer. Do not blink. Bethany thinks it means one of them has to stare into the snake's eyes without blinking. Spencer agrees that it probably makes sense. So Bethany nervously sits down in front of the basket while Spencer slowly opens it again. But the moment the snake appears, Bethany instantly panics and breaks eye contact. The snake lunges straight toward Martha. Before it can bite her, Spencer grabs it with his bare hands, creating just enough time for Fridge to jump in and pull out the snake's fangs using his zoology skills. That's when they realize the riddle wasn't about staring at the snake at all. It was about trusting Fridge. Bethany then reaches into the basket and pulls out a piece of paper, but instead of the missing map map piece, there's a picture of an elephant on it, along with another clue that says, "When you see me, begin the climb." Confused, they leave the hut and continue moving through the village. But suddenly, Van Pelt's men arrive. The group immediately starts running again, but this time Spencer suddenly remembers who he is inside the game. He's Dr. Bravestone. Instead of running away, Spencer turns around and starts fighting the attackers. To everyone's surprise, he easily takes them down one by one with incredible strength and combat skills. Martha and the others are shocked, seeing him act like a real action hero. But then Van Pelt himself arrives and points a gun directly at them. He demands that they hand over the jewel immediately. Bravestone refuses, so Van Pelt's men surround them at gunpoint. But right at that moment, a mysterious man suddenly appears and rescues them. He leads them through an underground tunnel, helping them escape before Van Pelt's soldiers can catch them. Once they're safe, the man removes his mask and reveals that he's actually the seaplane pilot Avatar, the same character Fridge originally tried selecting at the beginning of the game. He then guides them through a dangerous cave full of traps, safely helping them avoid every obstacle before finally leading them back out into the jungle through a hidden exit. That's when he finally says something shocking. "My name is Alex." At first, nobody understands what he means, but back with Van Pelt, his men report that the group escaped, and Van Pelt immediately realizes the pilot must have helped them. Furious, he kills one of his own men in anger. Meanwhile, Alex takes the group to a house he built for himself deep in the jungle. There, he explains his abilities. He says he's a pilot, and one of his weaknesses is mosquitoes. Bethany asks him how long he's been trapped inside the game. Alex says it's hard to tell time in Jumanji, but he thinks it's only been a few months. He explains that he tried twice to cross the next level called the transportation shed, but failed both times. Now he only has one life left, and because of that, he accepted that he might never escape the game alone. Hearing this, Bethany suddenly realizes something important. Alex is the missing piece. The clue in the village wasn't about finding an object, it was about finding him. He knows the jungle better than anyone. Martha points out that the real missing piece they were supposed to find in the market wasn't the elephant on the paper, it was Alex. Alex becomes emotional hearing this, because for the first time in years, he finally has hope again. After that, he takes everyone to the transportation shed. He explains that inside the garage are different vehicles, and if they can steal one, they'll be able to cross the valley and finally reach the jaguar statue. But there's a problem. 2 guards are standing outside, protecting the place. Alex comes up with a plan. He believes there must be another way inside, but first, they'll need someone to distract the guards. That's when Bethany tells Martha that she needs to go flirt with them and keep them distracted. Martha immediately refuses because she has absolutely no experience talking to guys like that. But after Spencer encourages her, she finally agrees, mostly because she's starting to like him. Bethany then begins giving Martha a hilarious crash course on flirting, while Spencer, Fridge, and Alex work on cutting through the fence nearby. A little later, Bethany confidently tells the others that Martha is fully trained now, and the plan is basically guaranteed to work. Then Alex casually says, "Of course it'll work. She looks just like Lavina." Everyone gets confused because, according to Alex, Lavina is the biggest movie star in the world. That's when Spencer asks him what year he thinks it is. Alex answers, 1996. And suddenly, everything clicks. This really is the same Alex from the Freak House. Spencer tells him the truth. He's been trapped inside Jumanji for 20 years. At first, Alex refuses to believe it, but Bethany explains that everyone back home knows about him. He became famous as the boy who mysteriously disappeared 20 years ago. Hearing that completely breaks Alex emotionally, but Spencer promises him that they will get home. Just then, they see Martha walking toward the guards, ready to distract them and put the plan into action. Taking advantage of the distraction, Spencer, Fridge, Bethany, and Alex cut through the wires and sneak into the garage. Inside, they find all kinds of vehicles, trucks, motorcycles, and even a helicopter. For a moment, nobody knows what to choose. At the same time, the guards realize someone has broken in. Martha quickly jumps into action and starts fighting them using her dance fighting skills. She literally takes both guards down while dancing, leaving everyone impressed. But then Fridge notices something terrifying. Van Pelt's men are heading straight toward them. There's no more time to waste. The group decides to escape using the helicopter, but Alex immediately refuses to fly it because he already failed twice before while trying to escape this level. He's terrified that he'll crash again. Martha steps forward and encourages him. She tells him that if she was able to fight armed criminals, even though she was scared, then he can fly the helicopter too. She reminds him that he's the only pilot among them and that they all believe in him. Hearing that finally gives Alex confidence. so they all jump into the helicopter and take off just before Van Pelt's soldiers arrive. But the enemies immediately start shooting at them. During the attack, one of the helicopter's rotor wires gets damaged, causing the helicopter to lose stability and start falling into the valley below. Everyone panics. Somehow, Alex manages to regain control, but he warns them that the rotor blade cable is broken, which means the helicopter can't gain enough height. Then suddenly, they hear jungle drums again. When they look behind them, they see an entire herd of giant rhinos charging directly toward the helicopter. Now everyone truly believes they're about to die. That's when Spencer says he'll climb up and fix the helicopter himself. He asks Alex what he needs to do, and Alex tells him he must reconnect the mesh plate to the height control rod. Spencer climbs onto the helicopter while it's still moving, trying desperately to reconnect the damaged part. But as he's doing that, the rhinos start smashing into the helicopter from behind. To make things even worse, the path ahead suddenly ends at a massive cliff. With no time left, Spencer takes a deep breath and reconnects the rod just in time. The helicopter suddenly regains power and lifts safely into the air, saving everyone at the last second. Everyone starts celebrating, but then Fridge realizes something horrible. The jewel is gone. The mood instantly changes. Spencer says they have no choice. They have to go back and get it. So they fly the helicopter back toward the valley, where they discover that the jewel is now surrounded by dozens of rhinos protecting it. Nobody knows how they're supposed to retrieve it. Then Spencer comes up with a crazy plan. He literally throws Fridge down into the valley as bait. The rhinos immediately chase after him, giving Spencer enough time to jump down and grab the jewel. Meanwhile, Fridge gets trampled by the rhinos and loses another life. But before he can fully respawn and fall to his death, Spencer catches him and pulls him back up safely. Finally, the group successfully crosses the valley and continues toward the jaguar statue. But then Alex suddenly gets bitten by a mosquito, one of his character's weaknesses. Slowly, he starts dying right in front of them. Nobody knows what to do. Then Bethany makes a shocking decision. She performs CPR on Alex and transfers one of her own lives to him, bringing him back. Alex wakes up confused, unable to understand how he survived. Martha explains that Bethany gave up one of her lives to save him. Alex becomes emotional and hugs her tightly. After that, the group continues searching through the jungle for the jaguar statue. Along the way, Spencer finally admits to Martha that he likes her. Martha smiles and tells him she likes him too. Then the two of them kiss. Right at that moment, Fridge suddenly interrupts them and says they finally found the statue. The group quickly heads toward it, but as soon as Spencer takes the jewel from Fridge's hand and steps forward, torches suddenly light up all around them, and instantly they realize it's a trap. Bethany notices a giant elephant statue nearby, and suddenly she remembers the clue they received earlier. When you see me, begin the climb. That's when Spencer realizes the clue was talking about this exact moment. He understands that he has to climb through the trees and reach the jaguar statue from above. Holding the jewel tightly, Spencer starts moving through the trees, but after going a little further, he suddenly gets scared by a squirrel, loses his balance, and falls down. The moment he hits the ground, several jaguars attack and eat him. Everyone is horrified. A few seconds later, Spencer respawns and falls back from the sky, but now he only has one life left. Nervous and shaken, Spencer pulls Fridge aside and tells him he can't do this anymore. He says he's not some fearless action hero. Fridge reminds him that he literally hung from a helicopter earlier to save everyone, but Spencer replies that being brave feels easy when you still have extra lives left. The real fear begins when there's only one life remaining. Fridge looks at him seriously and says that they can still escape this game, but only if they work together. Spencer gets emotional and tells Fridge that he's his best friend. The two finally make up. Then Fridge notices something important. He realizes the jaguars chasing them are actually protecting the mountain. Right then, Van Pelt's men begin arriving. Fridge quickly creates a plan. He tells everyone they'll split up in different directions. Bethany will go left, he'll go right. Spencer will head toward the statue, and Alex will distract the jaguars so Spencer can move safely. Martha says she's going with Spencer, but Fridge tells her she needs to distract Van Pelt's men instead. Everyone immediately jumps into action. Martha starts fighting the enemies while dancing, taking them down one by one. Meanwhile, Spencer keeps moving toward the statue, but several jaguars begin attacking him. Luckily, Alex distracts the jaguars and helps Spencer escape. At the same time, one of Van Pelt's men grabs Martha Martha and drags her away on a motorcycle. Spencer quickly saves her, then steals the bike himself and races toward the jaguar statue. As he speeds through the jungle, dozens of jaguars chase after him. Spencer uses the bike's fire launcher to create a massive wall of flames, trapping the jaguars behind it and clearing his path. Meanwhile, Fridge finally reaches the statue too, but suddenly an elephant attacks him. Instead of running away, Fridge stands his ground and calms the elephant down using his zoology skills. At the top of the mountain, Spencer finally reaches the statue, but Van Pelt is already there. He's holding Bethany at gunpoint. Van Pelt tells Spencer to hand over the jewel or Bethany dies. Alex and Martha arrive too, but Van Pelt uses his jaguars to block them from getting closer. Alex begs Van Pelt to let Bethany go and says he can take his life instead, but Van Pelt only wants the jewel. Spencer lies and says the jewel isn't with him. Right then, Fridge suddenly arrives riding the elephant, and he's holding the jewel. Van Pelt orders the jaguars to attack, but the jaguars get scared of the elephant and run away instead. Furious, Van Pelt starts shooting at Fridge, but Bethany suddenly bites Van Pelt's hand, causing him to miss his shot. Unfortunately, the bullet hits the elephant, making it panic and throw Fridge off. The jewel flies high into the air and lands somewhere above them. At that moment, Martha remembers the clue again. When you see the elephant, begin the climb. Van Pelt starts attacking Bethany, but Alex jumps in and saves her. The two begin fighting, while Martha tells Spencer to start climbing toward the statue. She promises she'll bring him the jewel. Spencer rides the motorcycle upward, while Martha searches for the jewel, but Van Pelt throws Alex aside and chases after Martha. Martha finally finds the jewel, but it's lying in the middle of a pit filled with snakes. Carefully, she grabs it. Then Van Pelt arrives and uses the snakes to attack her. Martha screams to Spencer that poison is her weakness. The second one of the snakes bites her. She explodes and loses another life. As she respawns and starts falling from the sky, Spencer quickly climbs higher and hangs from a rope. Martha throws him the jewel mid-air, and Spencer finally places it back into the jaguar statue's eye. But nothing happens. Then they suddenly remember they have to say the game's name out loud. So everyone starts, Jumanji, Jumanji. Suddenly, the entire jungle begins shaking. Light spreads everywhere. Van Pelt is destroyed, and the curse over Jumanji is finally lifted. The dark jungle transforms back into a beautiful green paradise. Everyone cheers in relief. Then Nigel appears again and congratulates them for saving Jumanji. After that, he tells them it's finally time to go home. One by one, he shakes their hands, and instantly, they all return to the real world. The group finds themselves back inside the school storage room, where everything first began. Everyone is overwhelmed with happiness. But then they suddenly realize something. Where's Alex? So they rush to Alex's old house. When they arrive, they notice the house looks completely different and much newer. That's when they understand. Alex returned to the exact year he disappeared from. A moment later, Alex himself walks outside. Now he's around 40 years old, married, and has 2 children. He recognizes all of them immediately. Alex explains that the game sent him back to the moment where his adventure originally started. Then he reveals that he named his eldest daughter Bethany because a girl with that name once saved his life. Everyone gets emotional hearing that. After everything they went through together, Fridge, Spencer, Martha, and Bethany finally become true friends. Spencer and Martha even share a kiss, but suddenly, they hear the sound of jungle drums again. Realizing the game might still be active, they immediately destroy it for good. And with that, the movie comes to an end.